In a previous episode, we were talking about the fact that the DEA, along with the Spanish authorities, finally catch Venezuelan former intelligence chief Hugo El Pollo Carvajal. So we were talking about the possibility that he could eventually be extradited to the U.S., considering that American authorities want him for drug trafficking charges. But we also point out that this situation wouldn't be that easy, considering that before being grabbed by the American authorities, El Pollo Carvajal will eventually do whatever it takes to remain in Spain and avoid extradition. We were basically saying that he had a lot of information that could compromise a very significant portion of the Spanish political spectrum. So this is essentially what is currently taking place, as news outlet OK Diario revealed that Hugo Carvajal basically has been revealing the way that the Venezuelan regime paid almost $7 million to radical leftist political party Podemos, especially the three leaders of this political party, the three main founders of this political party. We're talking about Pablo Iglesias, Jorge Bestringe, and Juan Carlos Monedero. In addition, some documents that, according to OK Diario, El Pollo Carvajal have been provided to Spanish authorities. Another thing that has been revealed and is quite delicate is some shady businesses between the famous Spanish lawyer Baltasar Garzón and Venezuelan state-controlled oil industry Petróleos de PDVSA, also known as PDVSA. So the documents that basically involve Podemos point out that the payments from the Venezuelan regime were made between the years 2008 and 2011, when the leadership of Podemos, especially these three members, Pablo Iglesias, Juan Carlos Monedero, and Jorge Bestringe, were working at the CEPS, which was basically an academic foundation that provided political advisory and political analysis for the Venezuelan regime. So the Venezuelan regime basically paid for these services. But the documents show that the former Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez had a pretty deep interest in this payment, in this type of operation, of political operation, because the document shows that Chavez essentially wanted to create a political party in Spain that could have the same interest as the Venezuelan Revolution, as Chavez loved to call the political movement, the leftist political movement that got him to the Palacio de Miraflores in Caracas. So we can basically say that Podemos, this political party of Spain, this radical leftist political party of Spain, was basically created with the money of Chavismo. And we still need to know if we could also say that was created by drug money, considering that it has been proved that the Venezuelan regime is essentially a drug trafficking organization, especially with the Los Soles cartel, with the Cartel de los Soles. So we don't know if this drug operation took place during those years, which means that Podemos was not only created by the Venezuelan regime, but also created by drug money, which will be a huge scandal in Spain, which is currently being investigated. So I honestly believe this is eventually the first episode of a pretty large series that involves Podemos, involves Baltasar Garzón, involves Hugo Carvajal, and especially the Venezuelan regime, and why not even the Spanish government, because we need to take into consideration that the current president, Pedro Sanchez, and his political party, PSOE, they decided to create a partnership with Podemos in order to remain in power. In fact, Pablo Iglesias, which was one of the three members of Podemos, and the CEPS, which received money from the Venezuelan regime, he was the vice president of Spanish until a couple of months ago, where he decided to participate, to be part of the regional elections in Madrid, which he loses, and then he decided to quit politics. But he, a couple of months ago, used to be the vice president of Spain. So this is a situation that is quite concerning, is quite dangerous, and also involves the Spanish government. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.